The trade minister expressed his disappointment with the decision, saying the strategic economic dialogue is an important forum for Australia and China to work through issues relevant to our economic partnership, and we remain open to holding the dialogue and engaging at the ministerial level. The opposition leader said we do need dialogue with China, but it needs to be on both countries' terms. While the political circle seems to be rather calm, the business community is demonstrating far more concern. The Australia-China Business Council, for example, commented in its press release on the suspension that it marks a new low in the relationship, one that is of deep concern to the business community. Dismissing some commentaries in Australia that describe the suspension as largely symbolic with little immediate impact on trade, the ACBC remarked that this is a serious diplomatic challenge and impact will be seen over time. As the trade minister himself admitted, the strategic economic dialogue is an important forum and a regular dialogue that previous governments worked so hard to build and maintain with China, including Morrison himself. The last time when the dialogue was held in 2017, Morrison, as then treasurer, signed 2 MOUs with the NDRC, including one on partnership in third-party markets, which could have taken the bilateral relations to a new level. Australian officials have complained on various occasions that their Chinese counterparts are not taking their calls. Now, with the strategic economic dialogue suspended, as some have joked, the telephone line is officially unplugged. It's first important to note that there exists a wide spectrum of opinions as to Australia's policy and approach towards China. However, the past 5 years, particularly the last 2, have witnessed a shrinking space for nuances and pragmatism. Australia's China policy took a clear turn around 2016 and 2017. It's certainly about Australia's choices amid shifting geopolitics and a conservative government trying to appeal to a more nationalistic population before the next federal election. But it's also rooted in a dangerous consumption that the majority of the government and the politicians have held about China relations. The assumption that Australia does not have to choose between China and the US, and in spite of what Australia may say or do, business will go on as usual. Foreign trade and foreign investment are transnational economic activities of very different nature. Foreign investment, particularly direct investment, always results in a presence in a foreign country or a degree of control of a foreign company. So the kind of scrutiny countries give to investment is always much higher than trading activities. Chinese investment, in fact, has long been a subject of controversy and anxiety in Australia, dating back to as early as 2007, when capital inflow from China started to be substantial and has concentrated through the years in mining, agribusiness, and infrastructure. SOEs dominated the landscape for quite a long time too. The reality that Australia has traditionally been quite protective about its businesses, which in part is understandable in that it enjoys rich natural endowments which are often sought after by foreign investors. It's thus not surprising that Australia was one of the few countries in the world to start screening foreign investment separately, having institutions and legislations in place as early as the 1970s and 80s. So, when geopolitics started to shift and the government's overall China policy started to turn, Chinese investment in the more sensitive sectors in Australia easily became targets of suspicion and anxiety. As the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott noted in his introduction of President Xi Jinping to the Australian Parliament in 2014 before his speech, he said, "We trade with people when we need them, but We invest with people we trust them. The decline of Chinese investment in Australia for the past 4 years clearly points to the essence of problems in bilateral relations, which is the lack of trust, without which neither economic cooperation or people-to-people exchange is expected to thrive. As I noted in a commentary I published in Australia early this year, bilateral relations are not at its lowest ebb yet. If we examine the fundamentals of bilateral relations, practical constraints in particular on the Australian government to effect a fundamental turn of its policy and approach towards China. Before that happens, bilateral relations will not recover.